Welcome to Positive Talk Daily. My name is Mr. Positive. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Mr. Positive Live. On YouTube, click on the bell icon, get notified when we go live and post new videos. This is Tech Corner. Today, we're looking at the T-Mobile Revvl 8, which has been out 2 months almost. And I'm finally getting my hands on one. Running a little bit late, but we're gonna review it. I'm gonna tell you what I think of the phone. And the packaging here is just pretty plain old T-Mobile packaging at the bottom. You get your Revvl 8 branding, same on the side. And it just kind of tells you about the device and the information you need to know about the device. When I open the box, you're going to get your paperwork and stuff like that. I'm not going to really go over that. In the box, you just get a plain old wire. That's right. You're just getting the wire and the instructions manual. So you get your instructions manual. And again, all these companies going eco-friendly, which I think is a scam. Go green scam or whatever. You just get a charger. You just get this, even for a $200 no-name smartphone, really that is branded by Luxshare. And we're not making fun of the phone company. It's just T-Mobile and all these electronic companies that think, well, hey, if you have a Samsung Galaxy S25, you can still use your Samsung Galaxy S5 charger. No. If a phone has 25 watt fast charging, then you should be getting a 25 watt charger in the box. I don't care if the phone's $200, $1,000. These companies think they're, doing something good for the environment when it's more just a ripoff so they can get more money out of you. And I've always said that about scams. It's just a go green money scam that they just, want to make more money off the people by using eco-friendly packaging or whatever. Overall, pretty boring package here. It is a T-Mobile Revvl 8. You've probably seen these reviewed on YouTube. So again, I'm finally getting my hands on one. Let me show you what I think of the phone. Now, overall, the Revvl 8 is a decent device. Now, I kind of have an issue with this. They've been advertising the Revvl 8 Pro, and we haven't seen it released. Now, I don't know if it may be coming out in November, maybe the end of October, or maybe it's not coming out at all. Last year, the Revvl series of phones, the Revvl 7 Pro, had a bunch of issues, and a few of them had to be discontinued, so I'm not sure if it's something they're maybe just not going to release a Revvl 8 Pro, or maybe they're holding off. Now, this year, you're getting a Revvl 8, just a standard Revvl 8. Last year's Revvl 7 and 7 Pro had the standard edition had a drop-down notch, kind of like this. It was 6.5 inches. It had an IPS panel. It was 1080p. It was a 1080p screen, just like this one is, an IPS panel. And the 7 Pro had a OLED display. So, you had your ups and your downs. The standard edition had 3 cameras. This year, they've dropped it down. You can see they changed it quite a bit. This year, you're getting 2 cameras. Last year, you had 3. On the 7 Pro, you had 4 cameras. Now, last year, looking at those, I never got a chance to review any of those phones, but from what I heard, the cameras were not really that great. And you could on the standard one, you could record in the 7 Pro, the standard 7, you could record in 2K. And then on the larger 7 Pro, you could actually record in 4K 30. So this year, we're just getting this one phone. We haven't seen anything released. Last year's both phones released at the same time. This year, this is the only one that's come out. So I do like there's a few things I do like about this phone so far is the design. It looks like kind of looks like a Pixel device, or maybe a Pixel 3, 3A, or just any sort of Pixel. Kind of has that Pixel 9A look to it, except the cameras don't kind of connect together. Overall, you got a matte finish. It is plastic. Yes, this is a mainly plastic device. I haven't seen anything for splash-proof coating or anything like that. It's pretty bare bones. So looking at the bottom, you do have a Type-C charging, which is capable of 25 watt fast charging. No wireless charging on this $200 phone. You do have you do have your headphone jack, which is nice to see. A lot of companies are doing away with that, so it's good to see that. You do get stereo speakers, so you have a speaker at the bottom, and at the top, this is used as your, again, stereo speakers. So that's pretty nice to see. You do have a fast fingerprint reader. I noticed that. And it also has face unlock, so that's nice. On the side, your volume up and down rocker and your power button slash, again, your power button slash your basically finger unlock button. Okay, and on here you're getting Android 15 out of the box, so that's nice. You're getting 128 gigs of built-in storage. Some of that's eaten up by Android 15, which is understood. And at least you're getting 25 watts. But the problem is a lot of these companies are just doing away with the charging bricks, which I don't get why. Now, I understand a lot of people buy phones every few years, so you're going to have chargers lying around the house. This is what the companies expect. Okay, you do have a fast 120 hertz refresh rate. Okay, so you do get 120 hertz refresh rate. That's nice to see. Again, it does have a 1080p screen, so that is nice. No OLED panels here. It's just an IPS panel. The viewing angles are decent. It does have 800 nits of brightness, so that's pretty nice. So if you're looking to view this outdoors, works great. You get Android 15, and there are a few things that I would have liked to have seen. There was a lot of bloatware when we got this phone. You turn it on, it goes to updates, and then it goes through this whole, it downloads all these games you don't really need on your phone, and kind of slows it down when you're first powering it up. Now, you are getting the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 chipset, which is a 2.4 gigahertz chipset. Okay, and it's very capable. You get Geekbench 6 numbers around 900 or so, depending on your model of the phone. Okay, 6 gigs of RAM on board, no virtual RAM. So you would have liked to see that virtual RAM. So you could have boosted it up maybe another 6 gigs. So you could have gotten 12 gigs of RAM. Would have been kind of nice, but we're not going to complain. 6 gigs of RAM is perfectly fine. You can also expand your storage from the 128 gigs that's on board to 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes. So depending on if you have micro SD card support or expansion. Okay. Now, no dust or waterproof on here. It's just a standard alone camera. I believe you do have Gorilla Glass 5 on the front, though. So that I do believe is the truth. I think Gorilla Glass 5 on the front. Okay. No wireless charging. You do get NFC, so you do have the NFC logo there. You are getting NFC, which is nice to see on a $200 smartphone. Most people getting this phone are going to be buying this, are going to be getting it for free. Okay, so it's a hell of a deal. It's been out since August. It was released around August 28th. And overall, I like the design. I like the matte finish on the back. It kind of has a pixel type thing going on there. And it's mostly plastic, but it's a nice device. It's built good. It'd still be nice to have a case, or even though it's a free phone, most people getting this free on T-Mobile or Metro by T-Mobile. Understand you're getting this phone. Now, there are some bummers to this phone. One, it's locked to T-Mobile, so even if you had a service for a year, you can't unlock this unless you have some cheats or whatever. But you can't unlock this. Thing is locked to T-Mobile. Okay, so even if you throw a straight talk SIM in it, you can't take it with you. So that's still a bummer. This phone is free because T-Mobile wants to get you in as a customer. Same with Metro by T-Mobile. When you get this phone for free, you're getting quite a bit in the box. You're getting that Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 chipset, which is a mid-range chipset and is found on the Samsung Galaxy A36, which is a $450 smartphone. So you're getting that same chipset for $200. That's a hell of a deal, or for free. Okay. Overall, decent build quality. Even though it's plastic, it's still nice. It's still nice in the hand, nice and sturdy. It is Gorilla Glass 5 on the front, so you got that there. Stereo speakers, which is nice to see. And you're getting Android 15, okay? Now, T-Mobile does state that they will give you security updates for around 4 years, maybe. But software updates, it stops at Android 15. That's another downer. Now, I know a lot of people buying this phone give two craps about Android software updates and everything like that. But when this phone has 6 gigs of RAM, it does run overall pretty smooth. I haven't seen any stutters, anything like that. We've even tested some games on here, and Call of Duty Mobile ran just perfect. PUBG Mobile ran good as well. So, it's going to be comparable to, say, a Samsung Galaxy A36, the Moto G Stylus 5G 2025, which we're going to be reviewing next month. Very compatible to that phone. So you're getting the same chipset as the A36 and the Moto G Stylus 5G 2025. So you're getting that same chip, which is the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 chip. At least you're getting a Snapdragon chipset. I will give them that. My bummer with the phone is the fact that you won't get beyond Android 15. You just won't. Revvl series of phones are kind of like the Majestic phones on AT&T, the phones we reviewed on Cricket. Kind of similar. I think it's the same manufacturer. Luxshare, I think they make those phones as well, and they just let the cellular companies put their branding on it, and that's what you see here. You get that T-Mobile logo in the background. Okay, the fact you're only getting a year service is kind of like those phones we've looked at on AT&T, prepaid. It's quick. You walk in, you're out, you get a new phone. You activate with AT&T or Cricket, you get the phone for free. And this phone here retails for around $200. Now they did take a step back though. Last year you had 3 cameras. This year you're getting 2. You're still getting a 2-megapixel micro camera, which is garbage. Unless you're taking pictures of ants, bees, or whatever, this is a useless camera. Now, Luxshare, you're listening to us. If you're gonna put a 5-megapixel ultra wide, at least, okay, it's a $200 smartphone. You got companies like Blue, bold like us, putting 5-megapixel ultra wide cameras on a Blue View 6. You could do the same thing with this, okay? Motorola is putting the same thing on the Moto G series of phones. Even those have 50-megapixel cameras and an 8-megapixel ultra wide. There's no reason why they should have a 2-megapixel camera. Overall, the cameras are not that bad though. But that 2-megapixel is just a waste of time. And most people don't even realize they have it on their phone. It's 2025. Most people are using ultra-wide cameras. So even if it was a 2-megapixel ultra-wide camera, that's still better than no ultra-wide, okay? And the front, you got a 13-megapixel selfie camera. That's not that bad. That's decent. It is a low res, but you'll get a decent camera, 50-megapixel on the rear. And this is capable of shooting in 1080p at I think it actually maxes out at 2K. I apologize. It does max out at 2K, but you can do 1080p 60. So 1080p at 60 frames per second, which is good to see on a lower end type of device. Okay. Another positive, 25-watt fast charging would be nice to see that in the box, or even get a charger in the box, period. Luckily, I have plenty of chargers, and that's what most cell phone companies prefer you to have. But if you have, let's say you buy a Samsung Galaxy, like I said, S25 Ultra, and it's supposed to have 68-watt fast charging, that charger should come in the box. You're spending $1,000 on a phone. Same thing with the Pixel phones. They should come with the product in the box. I don't give a crap about eco-friendly crap. People buying these phones don't give a shit about eco-friendly or go green scam. Okay. The point is, this is an overall good phone. It does have a decent build quality. It is plastic. The 2 cameras do take decent pictures. It does max out at 2K video recording. The volume is pretty good. It's stereo speakers. Now, getting to the downfalls of the phone. Now, this is not a big deal. Cellular companies make bezels on these phones. Samsung does it. Motorola. Actually, Motorola just they do the punch hole. So even if you buy a cheap Moto G Play from last year, you're still going to get a punch hole camera. Now, this phone has a dated look, though. And it's not a big deal. It's a $200 phone. And a lot of companies that are doing this, they try to do this to give you, they're trying to tell you, hey, this is the budget phone. From the back, it may not look it, but it is a budget phone. That's why it has a drop notch. Okay, the teardrop notch needs to go. This is a 2018, 2017 look. They've been doing this for almost 10 years now. This type of look has been around for almost a decade. It's time to, change things up, cellular companies. Now, I don't have a big deal with this. Most people buying this phone probably aren't going to give 2 shits if there's bezels around the phone or whatnot. But most people buying the phone, are just buying this because it's cheap. It's free. You're not paying much. It's a burner phone for some people. People don't really care. They're walking into Walmart, opening a service plan on Metro, and walking out of there with a free phone for only $40, or $50, whatever you do. Overall, decent phone. Overall performance is snappy. It's 120 hertz refresh rate. You can dial it down to 60 hertz to save on battery life. Your battery life is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, good for around 2 days of usage. I haven't really had a chance to test that out too much. I've only had it for a couple of days. The Type-C charging, we used a 25-watt charger that I have in the house. Luckily, it took about an hour to charge. Not bad. Not bad at all. Would have been nice to see wireless charging. That's why I said they took a step back this year. Last year's version, you had wireless charging on the Pro version. Now, if they were only releasing one version of this year, which I think that's what they're doing, they could have at least put wireless charging. Even the Moto G Power from last year had wireless charging. It's a $150 smartphone. So this should have wireless charging. So the good news is you're getting a good chipset with the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 chipset. You are getting 128 gigs of storage built in. That's probably taken up by about 15% by Android 15. And you are getting decent cameras, not great, but decent. Video recording, there is image stabilization. So if you're using this as a camera to video record or use the camcorder, it does a decent job. So there's not too much shakiness. I'll try to do a separate video on that. 50 megapixel, 2 megapixel micro camera. The 2 megapixel camera is trash. Don't even know why that's on there. Might as well just put a dud camera on there in the first place. And a 13 megapixel selfie camera, which is actually pretty solid. Overall, the phone does get a pass, but there are better options on the market, especially companies like Motorola that are now doing 2 years of software updates and like 4 years of security updates. This is giving you maybe 3 or 4 years of security updates, but only no update in software. So T-Mobile does state that you will get security updates, but no software updates. You will have to upgrade to a Revvl 9 next year to get the Android 16, and whatever. Anybody buying these phones knows, like the AT&T Majestic phones and stuff like that. These type of phones are going to be for those who want free. They just want a phone that does stuff, and this phone does everything it's supposed to do. The negatives are it's locked to T-Mobile. You can't take it to another carrier, and if you want to change your service, you're stuck with a phone that has, Now, there's a few areas I've had to, like over the last few days of using this phone, I will be honest, the internet has had connections. This had some connection issues. So when I first activated the phone, went out to go for my walk, test the 5G connectivity, it was pretty rough. Okay. Now, this is supposed to have T-Mobile's new technology, satellite phone technology. We haven't tried that yet, but supposedly this does have that technology. So Starlink service, satellite service. So that's good to see from T-Mobile. It is a 5G smartphone, so you're going to be getting that. But again, the lack of, I know it's not a big deal for some people, software updates, but I think it is. Having Android 16 or 17, even though it's a phone that's only released once a year, that would have been nice to see. They also took last year's phone came with 3 cameras. They dialed it back down to 2 and gave you that dumb 2 megapixel micro camera, which makes no sense. I'm going to give this phone about a 6 out of 10. It gets a pass, but there are better options. There are going to be some new Samsung phones coming out in the month of January 2026. We're already seeing it come out nationwide. It's the Samsung Galaxy A17 5G, which I think is still a better phone than this one. Yes, this has a good chipset, and that's probably the positive thing about this phone. You are getting this phone for free. You are getting average cameras. They're not great, okay? My Motorola has better cameras. But it's average. It does 2K video recording. It does have image stabilization. We haven't had a chance to check that out. You aren't getting a charger. Former Revvl phones had chargers. This one you're not. Last year's model had wireless charging. This year you're just getting the 15-watt charge, 25-watt charging, fast charging with a wire. I think that was the Pro series that had the wireless charger, but still, they took that away. And I think the phone should have had at least maybe that wireless charging would have been good. Again, this is a $200 phone. And again, you're getting the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 chipset, which is decent. Like it really runs like a mid-range champ. haven't had no issues, no lag. Everything works good. Facebook, everything loads like it's supposed to. Games play good. That's a positive. 6 gigs of RAM, keep plenty of apps open in the background. Nothing to worry about there. 128 gigs of storage, not going to complain. That's basic. Now, if this had 64 gigs of storage, we'd have to talk about it. But for free, we can't really complain. There are several deals right now. If you port in your number, you can still get this phone for free. If you open a new line of service, if you're an existing T-Mobile customer, you want to upgrade your phone, you can get this one. Again, I still say there are better phones on the market. There is the Moto G Stylus 5G 2025, which we're reviewing next month. I still think that's a much better phone than this one. You're getting an OLED display, wireless charging. I think Motorola right now is the best for the mid-range phones because you're getting a bang for your buck. You're getting an OLED display. This is a terrible IPS panel. It is 1080p, but it's washed out. I'll show you what I mean. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's very washed out for a panel that's, supposedly 1080p and also supposedly 120 hertz refresh rate. Sometimes it feels more like 90 hertz, but again, you get what you get. It's free. Overall, the phone does get a pass, but barely. We're going to do a full video review in about 2 weeks on this phone. Right now, there are better phones on the market. I would say pass on this one. The good news is it is a free phone. If you eventually want to upgrade, you can. Problem is, with this type of software, it's going to get dated really quick. Another issue is you have a lot of bloatware, games you're never going to play, and that type of deal. For Mr. Positive Live, I'm Mr. Positive. Check out better deals instead of this phone. It does get a pass, but there are better phones in the